Welcome to the Sana Project, where we take you well beyond our everyday skin clinic practices and give you insights to our philosophy. This collaborative podcast is hosted by our team and guest experts in various fields. So let us take you to Skinfinity and beyond, where we will be covering topics on skin, internal health, mind, soul, energy, life, and integrated practices. Our hope is to spark thoughts that resonate and serve you to make conscious choices to live your best life. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. Hello, welcome to another episode on our podcast. I'm here with Georgia, our very own skin nerd, and we thought today we would chat about Georgia's skin journey. So did you want to tell us a little bit about your skin growing up?
Sure thing. So growing up, before I was 10 years old, I had eczema as a baby. I was a little chubby baby with eczema in all my roles.
Oh.
Mum loves to tell me that story. And then growing up, I just had a lot of allergies to animals, grass, everything you can imagine. My face would swell up. I showed Karla a picture the other day of me younger, with an allergic reaction.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much, until I was about 10 years old, that would happen all the time. After 10 years, it started to calm down a bit, which was great because it meant I could go to school and play on the oval and I'd be fine. Then I got into high school and that's where stuff got fun for me. Kidding. I got to about 13, 14 years old and like most teenagers started to get pimples. Mine started to get very mean and big and yucky very fast. I also found that they started to spread down my chest and my back as well. So not fun, and had them for many, many years and did a lot of different things, a lot of stupid things. But yeah, that's pretty much a summary of my skin.
Okay, so you said that was kind of like high school. Was that early high school, like around 13, 14 kind of age?
Yeah, like 13, 14 when it all kind of started. And then the peak of it was probably like 15, 16. So it was like 12 months of it kind of looking like I was just going to have a pimple here and there like most people. But then after that first 12, 18 months of it, it just went crazy.
So you had quite a few. It wasn't just like the odd one in the different areas. It was quite a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you know, or did you at the time know what your triggers were, or do you know now looking back what the triggers were? Or
it's still a little bit of a mystery. At first we just assumed it was hormones, like always. And because I did start my period a bit later as well, so we just assumed it was hormones.
Yeah.
I was very irregular. And then I did my own research, which is great, but didn't know what I was looking for. So the first thing I found I'd run by until someone would tell me I was being stupid and it wasn't something that I should be following. So then it led me to the whole dairy's my trigger, sugar's my trigger, McDonald's is making it worse, and I'm not using the right kind of products, all this stuff. So I thought at the time when I had it that it was hormonal, it was food driven, I wasn't doing enough for my skin, kind of a mixture of things. Now being on the other side of it, knowing what I know, it's still a bit of a mystery to me what it actually was that caused it. I think it was a combination of hormones and what I was doing for my skin, but there was also something else just going on in my body that was causing it to be as chaotic as it was, but I'm not sure what that actually is.
yeah, so kind of back then it was a lot of trial and error, I suppose, trying to just kind of work it out for yourself. Yeah. And then how was it, if you don't mind me asking? I know high school for a lot of people can be quite a tough time in your life. How was that? Was your skin ever kind of commented on, or did you ever struggle? Because kids can be mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
How was that?
I don't think I ever had anyone directly come up to me and say, ew, you've got pimples or like you've got acne. So in that sense, I feel like I was a little bit luckier with what I was going through. But I had people on a daily telling me to get over myself. My skin was amazing. People go through so much worse. Someone could sit in front of me with one tiny little pimple while I had a face full of the same thing and tell me that theirs was so much worse than mine.
Wow. Okay.
So kind of just feeding the idea to me that I had nothing wrong with my skin when there was something there that could be fixed. I had more people comment on, I've got a few moles on my face, and I don't know if any clients have recognized it or seen, because I don't think anyone's looking at my arm, but I do have a scar on my elbow from a mole that I had removed in year 9 because people were just mean about it. They point out that it had hair and all that stuff. So I think when people started noticing that, I started covering my face and didn't give people a chance to look at it because I knew that that was going to be the next thing they picked on.
Yeah, so you're kind of protecting yourself in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really tough. And it's also, I think, important to kind of point out that it is not up to anyone else to decide what is severe or isn't severe. Like, yeah, there might be someone who's got 1 or 2 pimples and is really self-conscious about it and it's really weighing quite heavily, and that's fine. And then you could have someone who's got, maybe like yourself back then, a face full of them, and it's also like your feelings towards your skin, it's all valid, and there's no right for anyone else to kind of judge on how you're feeling and be like, oh, your skin's fine, what are you worrying about, kind of thing. Like it really weighs on your confidence and everything, and I think it's important for people to not make those comments and assumptions because it's not helping anyone and it's just not nice or necessary. So
definitely. I think it's also important to know that acne is a skin concern, not a skin problem. It's not a problem. It's not something that's ugly. It's not something that you have to get rid of unless you want to. If you've got breakouts and you're fine with them, you don't really care, that's cool. Like, embrace your skin and how your skin is wherever you feel comfortable. If you want to get rid of them, get rid of them. You know, do the work, do the research, come speak to the right people. But like you said, it's not for anyone to decide, to tell you like whether your problem is big enough or small enough. Like, it's up to you as a person to decide.
Yeah. And then, okay, so we spoke about how you did a lot of trial and error.
Yes.
What did you do? Let's just talk a little bit more about what you did. You look like you're already getting a bit embarrassed, but did you ever go to a skin clinic or a GP, or did you Google home remedies? Like, what were you doing in that time?
So I did a bunch of things, and like I said before, I did some pretty stupid things. When it started, 13, 14 years old, skin clinics weren't really on my mind. They weren't really talked about a lot back then either. Like, that wasn't that long ago. Why did I make it seem like that? But like, it wasn't a common conversation that people had. It wasn't something that I knew about. It wasn't something that anyone in my family spoke about. Yeah. And even though I'm the youngest child, like I was the first one to go through something like this. So there wasn't much experience with it. So my 13-year-old self took to YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and even Pinterest to find my solutions. I didn't go to Dr. Google because I knew Dr. Google wasn't going to help me, because Dr. Google will tell me I have like a really like serious illness, but it's a pimple. Yeah. You know, I knew that, but I was like, yeah, YouTube's going to tell me. So I tried home remedies at first because I didn't have a job, so didn't have money to go and buy something that someone recommended, and felt a bit awkward asking my mum to go buy me products for my skin when she hadn't told me I needed to use them. So I did home remedies. Loved a good avocado and honey face mask. I think that just made everything worse. Aww. Normally I just sit there kind of licking it off my face as it fell off. Oh God. I know, gross. Don't even talk to me about it. One time I do remember I saw someone say that if you use turmeric and honey it can do wonders for your skin. And I know in some cultures it is still used and it's used correctly. I didn't do enough research on it, had no idea that turmeric can stain. So I put about 3 tablespoons of turmeric on my face mixed with honey, and I think I put apple cider vinegar in as well from memory, and stained my face yellow.
Oh no.
Couldn't let my family know, so did wear a lot of makeup for that kind of week and just spent time in the shower like scrubbing my face with a bar of soap. Again, horrible, but you know, you live and you learn. And then I think Mum started to notice that a lot of her kitchen supplies were going down quite fast. So we got into kind of a discussion of where we wanted to go, and she was happy to kind of start supporting me with getting skincare. So first stop after home remedies was the Body Shop. Picked out every single product they had that had tea tree in it, because I'd read somewhere tea tree is great for breakouts. So dried the hell out of my skin. Did the old toothpaste trick like we've spoken about as well. And then I think I stayed on the Body Shop stuff for like a good while, and it just kept getting worse and worse, and it really started to affect me then. And that's when I think my mum was like, all right, like we'll do something about it. So she bought me Proactive. This is the next thing that I'm like a little bit stupid, and I can't believe I did it. I read the instructions like I was supposed to, used the products like I was supposed to, so slowly introduced each step. I didn't use the correct amount though. I said pea-size amount, that's not going to clean my face. I've got acne, I'm oily, this is gross. I need to scrub my skin. Chemical burns all over my face.
Oh, you poor thing.
So couldn't use that anymore. Couldn't use any of my tea tree products because they would just burn. So I had to just kind of go back to using just whatever sensitive products I had from when I had all my allergic reactions to things, and had to just leave it for quite a while to just kind of calm down, mellow out, and not have burns on my face, which they weren't like the most severe chemical burns you can get, but like they were pretty bad. And any time I had a reaction quite close after that, it'd be in those areas that I like burn.
Okay.
But that's kind of what I did when I was younger.
Okay. So by this point, you've obviously tried quite a few different avenues.
Yeah.
And then I know you've told me that you ended up going down the path of Roaccutane. Did you want to tell us when you kind of made the decision to try that, and just a little bit about what Roaccutane is for anyone who's listening who's either heard of it but doesn't fully know what it is or hasn't heard of it at all? It's do you want to give us a little bit of info about that?
Yeah. So I actually started on a different medication for acne 4 years prior to going on Roaccutane. So after the whole debacle with Proactive, gave it a rest, gave my skin a rest, and then decided maybe it's time to go see a doctor because this isn't getting better from what the internet's telling me. Went to the doctor, got prescribed with doxycycline, which is another common medication. Right. It's an antibiotic for skin, and it's usually for acne or just any kind of skin conditions that you've got going on that are like can be treated by antibiotics. I'm not a doctor, so if I get something wrong, I do apologize. Go speak to a medical professional about this. Do not take my word for it, please. But so was on that for about 4 years along with a medicated cream that went beside it. First of all, you're not supposed to be on that for 4 years. So that's probably my fault because I kept asking my doctor for it. But I think at some point the doctor should have taken me off. While I was on it, the amount of like angry, like cystic like pimples reduced. However, I still had all the tiny blackheads, little bumps, all this texture in my skin.
Congestion still, yeah.
So it wasn't ever completely gone. It did get to a point where I was happy enough to not have to like cake concealer all over my face, which was really nice. But it just wasn't working. So at like the end of that 4 years, we tried about, I think it was like 6 or 7 months on a slightly stronger version of doxycycline, minocycline, and a slightly stronger cream as well. Again, didn't do much. Also in that 4 years, I think I had a couple of times where I'd go a couple of weeks without it. Like if I went on holidays, I just wouldn't take it with me because I couldn't be bothered. And there's also the whole warning of like sun sensitivity, and I was like, I don't want to get burnt.
Okay, so you've told us a little bit about all your home remedies and they just weren't really doing much for you at the time. What did you kind of do next? Did you lean towards medications or?
So I thought it was finally time to take the leap, go see a professional, because nothing that I was doing from my research was working. So I went to my GP, sat down, cried and was like, I need help. I've tried doing it on my own. It's not working. I don't know why it's not working. Like, you know, most people get to a point when you try and do something yourself and it's just not working. I was immediately put on to a medication called doxycycline, which is just an antibiotic that's used to treat acne and a bunch of other different things. I just want to quickly say I am going to talk about different medications that I've been on for acne. I am in no way a medical professional. I'm not recommending that anyone gets it. Go speak to your doctor or dermatologist if you feel like you need to be on these medications.
Yeah, this is just your journey.
This is just my story. I just want to share. I will say kind of what they are, just so you're not sitting there going, oh, what the hell is that? But I just wanted to put that out there quickly. So I went on doxycycline, and along with that, I was on a medicated cream called like Epiduo, I think it was, which was like a peroxide-based cream, essentially just like bleaching my skin and everything that I touched after putting it on, which I didn't realize for years until I came here and Christine was like, that's what's bleaching your stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, getting sidetracked. So went on Epiduo and doxycycline. I was on that for around 4 years, pretty steady 4 years. I think I maybe that whole time had about like 2 months total where I wasn't on it, and that was random sporadic times in that I took it off. It wasn't like 2 consecutive months, which isn't great. I've learnt now. It's meant to be like a short-term treatment plan, not that long-term. But you know what? Like it did help somewhat. It didn't completely get rid of everything. I was still left with like minor congestion and wasn't happy with the result. And if I stopped taking it for a day, everything came right back. So it wasn't a solid fix for me. In that time as well, the doctor recommended like different face washes, creams, all that. Pretty much like your acne range stuff, but just stuff you could get at the chemist, at like any shop you can walk in. It wasn't any like cosmetic beauty range stuff. It was
so nothing like super specific, like
it was like, and it was usually quite gentle and mild products because the medication that you're on is like taking a toll on your skin. After that 4 years, I was getting pretty frustrated because nothing was happening. So I went to a different doctor, told them my story, said I've been on doxycycline for 4 years. So they prescribed me minocycline, which is just a step up from doxycycline, still in that same antibiotic family, just a slight bit stronger. I was on that for about 6 or 7 months. And I think my skin actually got worse while I was on that from memory. And I know that a lot of the time stress played a big part in my skin because I was so stressed about it.
And keeping in mind you are still in your teen years as well. So that's just in general a stressful time of your life.
Yeah, not fun. Anyway, get to like that 6 or 7 months and then I kind of just gave up. I was like, you know what? The creams seem to help a lot more than the medication itself. So I kept using the cream, stopped using the medication, and at that point I was already on a waiting list to go see a dermatologist, but it's a long wait. As many people would know, it's quite frustrating sometimes how long you have to wait to go see one. And then COVID started, so it was even longer. But at the same time, I think the waiting list was cut in half, because a lot of people were like, well, I'm not waiting because I'm not going to get in here, or they were getting sick so they couldn't come in, so there were spots opening quite frequently. This was also at the time where I had kind of started, you know, entering the beauty industry, so I started to know a little bit more about what I can do and what I can get for my skin. By the time I got to see a dermatologist, I was pretty much fully in my beauty course. So I walked into the dermatologist, sat down and said, I want Roaccutane. I know all about it. I know, you know, the effects that it can have. Still run me through everything because maybe I've missed something, but I know what it is. I know what it does. I know how it works. I want it. My dermatologist looked at me and said, okay, but I'm going to assess you now, because if I don't think you need it, you're not getting it. I don't care what you want. And I was, now looking back at it, I'm really thankful. At the time I was kind of just like, oh, that's rude. Like, I'm your patient. Like, you should be serving
Help
me.
me. Yeah.
Like, I've come in asking for something, give it to me. But looking back at it, I'm glad that they didn't just give it to me, and they actually had a look at me, went through my history and said, yes, this is something for you, rather than just doing what I wanted. Anyway, so went through a bit of an exam with him. He looked everywhere that I was having the acne. I showed him pictures throughout the years of how my skin was. I showed pictures of what I've used throughout the years, told him everything, left out the turmeric part because my mum was in the room. She's probably listening to this now thinking that I'm actually delusional, but that's okay. And got Roaccutane. Now, when I decided I wanted to go on it, I knew it was going to be a big step, because it's not it's not similar to doxycycline. It's a lot more intense. You're very restricted in what you can and can't do while you're on it. And you just have to listen to your dermatologist and what they say you can and can't do, what you need to do post and prior and all that stuff. But I was a little bit in my mind like, well, I'm doing beauty, so I know just as much as you, which is, I don't know why I ever thought like that, but I'm out of that mindset now, which is good. But yeah, so yeah. And then I was on Roaccutane for 12 months, and then I started here. My skin was clear for, I think, like 3 or 4 of those, like the last 3 or 4 of the 12 months. Spoke to my dermatologist, said, look, I don't really want to be on it for too much longer. It impacts my schooling because I can't get treatments done, so I can't learn what the feeling is for clients. And I was like, I also have access to skincare now. Like, I'm trained, I'm working in the community. Like, I think I can help myself now if I need to. And they were fine with that. I went on a prescription retinol, had a huge retinol reaction, freaked out, came to Christine and was like, we just need to get my skin healthy again. And that's what we've been doing since.
Wow. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, you mentioned at that time you were sort of entering into the beauty industry and you had done your research. For people out there who don't know how strong Roaccutane is, do you want to tell us a little bit about how it works, and if there was any information you wish was kind of brought to your attention a little bit more about, you know, going on Roaccutane and what the effects are going to be like coming off it as well?
Yeah. So Roaccutane is essentially just vitamin A that is taken orally, so in a tablet form. It is in a couple of different milligrams. So typically you start on a lower dose, they work you up, and then they work you back down. The way in which that rate goes up, how much you go on, is all dependent on your dermatologist as well as the condition of your skin. I know quite a few people that have gone on it since I've come off, and their treatment paths are completely different to what I've been on, and their skin is completely different to what I had when I went on. So it's quite interesting to know. It essentially is just like shutting off your oil glands. So the oil gland, or sebaceous gland in technical terms, is where your acne and your breakouts come from. So if that gland isn't functioning, in theory, you do not get pimples, breakouts, all that stuff. But in saying that, your oil glands are everywhere in your body. They're kind of what is used to keep your body nice and hydrated, moisturized. You know how sometimes you'll wash your hair and like 3 days later it's a grease ball and you're like, oh, I've got to wash it again. When I was on Roaccutane, and do not judge me for this, it's going to sound gross, but I could go 2 weeks without washing my hair and you would not be able to tell.
Wow. Okay. So that's how effective it is in that sense that you literally had no oils coming through. Yeah. So you could go for so long without washing your hair. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you can't tell as much now, but I love blonde hair. So I would bleach my hair every 6 or 8 weeks, which I know is very close together. My hairdresser has told me off a few times. But the entire time I was on Roaccutane, I was getting my hair done, which it's not a no-no, but it is recommended that you don't do it as much or you pull back on it. I was very cocky with it. I was fine while I was on Roaccutane. My hair was so long, thick, gorgeous. Like everyone always told me I looked like a natural blonde, and I was like, oh my God, boosting my ego, jeez. Came off it and my hair kind of started to fall out. Oh. So I'm on a bit of a hair health as well as a skin health journey, which is why my hair is like half brown at the moment. Do not talk to me about it. I'm not happy. I want to be blonde again, but I'm taking my time with it, just like I want clients to take their time with their skin and listen to us. I'm listening to my hairdresser, finally.
So I suppose, I mean, we all know now that you're obviously working in the industry. You've got a lot of knowledge behind you. Looking back and with the knowledge that you have now, do you still feel like at that point in your life, Roaccutane was necessary or was kind of the best sort of way to go at that time?
Yeah, I do still feel it was necessary for me and my skin. I had the condition for so long.
Yeah, lengthy journey.
And I tried so many different things and some medications that are a lot lighter that should be able to improve it and didn't make any improvement. What I wish I knew was that I could do that medication and I could come to a skin clinic or just like for treatments or even just products. Like I could have that support as well, which I didn't. I thought that I could only see my dermatologist. I could only use what he told me to use and take the medication that I was using. Towards the end of my journey, I kind of started to realize that. So I did start using better products. I did also have access to some like clinic grade products through my school as well, which was really useful for me. So I was starting to use better products towards the end, not the best that I could be using, but better than what I had been. But yeah, I think that's a huge thing. And I feel like if there's one thing I could pass on to anyone or just go back in time and tell myself is you can go on all these medications. Like they are there to help. They're there for a reason. They should be more of a last resort than a first choice, but you can do these medications and you can do the best for your skin as well by coming and seeing someone like us, getting, products that are going to be helping that skin health.
Support it.
Yeah, support it when you've got a medication that's going to be like tearing it down at the same time.
Because I think, it is important to highlight as well that there is, a time and a place for these medications. Like sometimes that is necessary, but I suppose you have to kind of look after your skin at the same time. Because I mean, it's been a little while since you've been off Roaccutane now. How many years?
It's been, I think it's over 12 months. I think it's getting close to 18 months off Roaccutane, which is wild to me that it's been that long already. Like it feels like I was on it yesterday, but
Well, how is your skin now? Like is it pretty much problem solved, it's all good, or are you still doing a lot of repair work from it? Or
so I'm still doing a lot of repair work. My skin barrier hates me, but I also just got a puppy, so dealing with my allergies again. So my skin's a bit mad at me for that, but overall, skin barrier is shocking. It's so much better than it was 12 months ago when I first came off it. Like, it's insane to look at the observed pictures and just even feeling my skin. Like, I think I said a couple months ago to you guys, and I said it to my teacher as well. I was like, my skin feels like skin again. Like, it feels normal, which is wild to think that I was ever at a point where my skin kind of felt like paper, or like sandpaper essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of repair work and then just maintenance. So doing everything to fix my skin barrier, but also keeping in mind that at any point it could come back, because it's not a permanent fix what I was on. But yeah.
Yeah. So I forgot to ask a little bit earlier as well, but you kind of had your interest in beauty while you were sort of kind of coming towards the end of high school. Was that, something that you'd always had a little bit of interest in, or did your experiences and like your struggles with acne kind of really kickstart that drive to want to learn more and get you into the industry more skin-based?
I think this answer might make people laugh a little bit, but I actually had no interest in beauty or skin whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Growing up, I was always watching makeup tutorials on YouTube. Like, that was my thing, but I didn't think I would ever actually have a career out of it. And I think because I kind of grew up where people had the mindset that like beauty was for dumb people, people who couldn't do well in school, people who had no direction essentially, which is not the case. It is not true at all. You need to be switched on. You need to have something running upstairs.
Trust us, there's a lot of study in it. Like
some of the stuff that we do, like it's insane. I've had some people look at my beauty books, like even just from diploma level, and they're like, what the hell? Like, I did not expect that to be something that you learn about. And I'm like,
there's a lot to it.
It's a big thing. And I think it's just kudos to everyone in the industry. You guys are all amazing. Don't let anyone tell you you're dumb and anything like that. Anyway, so I wasn't really thinking I was going to go into it. I, in high school, was always kind of like, I think I want to do something in fashion. Mm-hmm. And like many people, when COVID hit, my world kind of just flipped upside down. I mean, I was in high school, so like it wasn't that traumatic, but I was in year 12 in COVID, the first year of COVID. So it was a new experience for everyone. It was crazy, and I kind of gave up on schooling. And I know I shouldn't have. I know I should have, pulled my head out of my ass and like actually done my work. But I knew that there was still going to be something out there for me. I just had to find what it was. Yeah. Anyway, so it comes to the end of year 12, look at VCAR, look at what I can do without an ATAR, because I was going to do my exams, but I didn't want that number to define what I could do for the rest of my life. The first two options that came up was pilot school or beauty school. And I was interested in pilot school, but they didn't have any open days or anything like that because of restrictions and all that. But the beauty school that came up was like, had an open day like the next week. And I was like, sick, I'm going. Went, enrolled, signed up, 2 months later was like studying. So
wow, so something really clicked at that open day for you.
Yeah. And I think it was more, I've always kind of liked what beauty's about. I guess I might as well give it a go. It might just teach me life skills. I'll find something else afterwards. Started the course. I started out with massage. I'm not a fan of massage. I love getting one done. Don't really love doing it. I had great teachers though, so I found it really interesting, and I think I started to really enjoy the science behind everything. Yeah. So we had science running at the same time. So we were learning the anatomy and the physiology of the body. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then we got into the integumentary system, the skin. And I was like, holy shit, I think I've just found my job for the rest of my life. Like it was literally an instant click in my brain. It was like, two neurons had like zapped together, and I was like, oh my God, I've found my passion. Yep. This is my dream. This is my calling. This is what I'm meant to do.
I bet you're sitting there in class thinking back to like all of your, everything you've done with your skin, being like, oh, this makes sense. Oh, okay, that's why that didn't work. Like I can just see your brain going off. Like
I was just sitting there like sinking in my seat, like, oh my God, I've done so many dumb things, and I read these things, and I was like, oh my God, I live by it. And now I'm that person that sits on TikTok and is like, reading all these influencers posting things and I'm like, that is bullshit. You need to stop. And I'm like, but there was one time where I would look at that and go, oh my God, that is like, that has to be gospel. Like it's got to work. Anyway, getting sidetracked as I always do. But yeah, so it was a bit of a fluke that I fell into this industry and kind of fell in love with the skin. And then as like we learnt things, like you said, there were so many like aha moments for me where I was like, oh my God, so that's why my skin did that when I did that stupid thing, or when I used that product, that's why it's reacted the way it did. And I knew that because I'd been through something myself, that I could have more of a like connection behind what I was doing for people. And I knew that if I had had someone out there that, you know, I could look up to, that could teach me about my skin, that I probably would have done a lot better for my skin. And that's kind of what I want to do with my life now. And that's how I've got in here and how I've turned into this big skin nerd that I am.
I know, it's such an interesting backstory because, you are like the biggest skin nerd I know. Yeah. So for someone who I think initially it wasn't really kind of on the cards, like that's just so funny. You've done a complete like 180.
Yeah, pilot school to beauty school.
Yeah, 2 options, which is the best one.
Can't believe what would have happened if I turned into a pilot.
I know, I could not imagine.
I don't think anyone in my family or anyone that knows me they'd all be like, Georgia, get away from the plane. They would no one would ever be on the plane. No one can sit in the car with me. I'm a good driver. I just want to put that out there. Everyone who sits in my car, like my family and my boyfriend, seem to think otherwise. But I think I'm a great driver.
You get to A to B.
I get to A to B. I haven't crashed. Like I've still got the same car that I learnt in. So I think I'm doing great personally, but some people beg to differ.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess, I mean, you've come a really long way with your journey. Is there any kind of tips or words of wisdom or encouragement you can leave listeners with, or just something they can kind of have a think about, whether it's in terms of their skin or even in terms of like a career path? Like I know you've mentioned that, yours wasn't quite clear cut and that you did have a few decisions you had to make. So is there any kind of, I don't know, advice or just something you can suggest people have a bit more of a think about?
I think, first of all, like we mentioned earlier, if you feel like there's something in your skin that you want to fix it. If you don't think there's a problem, someone tells you a problem, tell them to go away. Tell them to get over themselves, stop paying attention to what's going on your skin, on your body, and just move on with their life. And if you are concerned with something on your skin, go speak to someone. Speak to a doctor, dermatologist. Come to a skin clinic. Come to us. Definitely come to us because I'd love to meet you. We'll help you, whatever you need. Even if you just want to laugh, come to us. We're a great laugh. But yeah, just don't be afraid to ask for help because I think that's in everything, not even just skin related, anything. Don't be afraid to ask for help. If you're too afraid to ask your parents, ask a teacher, email someone. Like there's so many ways now that you can reach out to people, do it because, and I know with skin especially and acne itself, it's a condition that can cause a lot of stress and a lot of issues in terms of mental health. And I know I went through a lot when I had it. And now that I'm on the other end, I just wish I could, go back and tell like my younger self, like it's going to be okay. You're going to get through it. It's not the end of the world. It's just skin. Like it's something that happens to a lot of people. Like quick fact for everyone, 80% of people get acne and it's just in varying degrees and it can be anywhere from teens to even adults. So you're not alone. If you're sitting at home with it, you're good. Like there's so many people go through it and so many people experience the same feelings that you have. Like it's
part of life.
It's part of life. Like just know that there's going to be people that can support you and help you and do exactly what you want to do. And I think I'm going to give a shout out to Dermal because I think their brand is actually like it's amazing that you can customize a routine to what someone is actually capable of doing. You don't need a million products. Yeah. You don't need all these fancy different things. Like you can customize it to what works with someone's routine and schedule and all that stuff, which, yeah. But anyway, the point that I was trying to make, because I ramble all the time, is, it's not a skin problem. It's a skin concern. And don't let anyone tell you that it's not bad. It's not the worst thing in the world. Like, there's other people going through other stuff. Like, your concern is your concern and it's valid. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Yeah. Aw, that's some really nice like words of wisdom and words of encouragement. But yeah, thank you for sharing your journey. I mean, yeah, and for just opening up about your learning and growth throughout it all and kind of exposing yourself and all the little at-home remedies you did and everything that you tried. But yeah, I hope that can kind of help encourage someone else along the way. And yeah, hopefully we'll get some more people to kind of share their journeys and just kind of show that, yeah, we're all in this together, even though our journeys might be slightly different. We're all got stuff going on. Yeah, and I think the more that we share about it, the more we can learn and grow from each other. So
definitely. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. This was fun.
It was fun. Good little chat. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some more people on board and we can do some more of these.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this episode, share it with your friends and get involved in our socials to help shape the topics on this podcast. We'd love to meet you. You can simply book from our webpage or reach out. We are here to help.